Welcome back. Today we're talking about the Chinese spy balloon that was shut down from the sky. I'm just kidding, guys. We're talking about Zillow, which is pretty much the same thing. Zillow spies on your house. And as a company, I don't know if I believe in their future. Let's talk about Zillow. We're going to talk about how they're lying, what they do, their horrible launch of a new program that failed, and a little bit about human and AI. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about how Zillow does business. So if you are following this channel, you already know what Zillow is. Why? Because you're in real estate, you're following real estate, you're interested in real estate, you're a real estate agent, or you're looking at homes on Zillow. So that covers pretty much 99% of the people watching this video. So if you've noticed, Zillow has this thing called Zestimate, right? It's Zillow's estimate of the property value of your home. Let's stop there for a second. How do they get this value? Where do they find this value? Where do they even locate the number? Because I will tell you, they don't have a guy going out there and assessing every single home value every day. I mean, have you ever thought about where that number even is driven from? Like, where do they get that number of the value of your home? Do they just look on tax records? Because that's not right. If they did that, they'd be like $100,000 under the market value. Do they ask real estate agents, such as myself? No. The answer is no to both of those. How does Zillow come up with your number? Well, algorithms. Now, we're going to talk about algorithms here in a little bit because that's a huge part of this video, and the topic that we're covering, but algorithms. So they expect their algorithm finds a number based off of its location and everything else that's listed and has sold. They pretty much put it all together, all of it. All the numbers together, just put it all together. And they come up with a number, and they put that on as an estimate price for your home. So you may be looking at your house, and it says $550,000, but your home is actually only worth $475,000. Or you may be looking at your home value, and Zestimate says it's worth $425,000, but really your home is actually worth $550,000. So where did they go wrong? Why are their numbers so off? Well, it's a thing called CMA. Or cross-market analysis, whatever you want to call it. But really, comps, right? So comparison of value of other homes is what we as agents look at. Now, I am very, very detailed with my numbers. When I provide comps or comparison of other home values to my clients, I'm very particular. I don't just show them whatever else has sold. In short, I look at a couple things. Without going too much into detail in this video, I look at homes that sold within a particular radius, and I look at things that sold recently, not a year ago, not, at this point we're looking at a few months out at least because the market has slowed down. But I look at that. I also look at the size of the home. It can't be too crazy. It can't be a big wide spread of square footage. It has to be like your home. But outside of that, I look at two more things. I look at a floor plan. You cannot compare a split level home with a rambler. Even if the square foot is similar, it's very hard to compare those values of those homes because the type of buyer buying those homes are looking at different things. They value different things. Therefore, you can't just estimate a number based off of those two. Well, Zillow does that. They put everything in one pie. And another thing I look at is I look at the condition of the home. So that's a huge thing that Zillow can't do. They can't walk inside your home. They can only look at pictures, and even then, the algorithm is not smart enough to know the condition of your home and the value of that condition of your home. Updates, pools, views, updates, quality of product, all that is a huge indication of value of your home. Zillow can't provide that. So it does the best it can. But they are still very, very much behind the actual value of your home. Now, if Zillow is pretty close to the value of your home, it's because they put all these numbers into an average, and you might have an average house. Now, you might be offended there. An average house is not bad. It just means that maybe you don't have all the extra bells and whistles that may increase your value. Or, however, something might have sold down the street from your home that's very similar to yours, and they grab that number, and therefore your number will be pretty close to that. So when it comes to Zillow's and its accuracy, it hinders. Let's talk about actually a pretty important thing, the way that they change their estimates. I don't know about you, but my home value doesn't jump up and down 20 grand every other day. And it shouldn't. I'd be very concerned if that was the case. So what Zillow does is this. Me as an agent, I take a listing, I make it go live. As soon as I take it on market, they will look at that number, their algorithm will look at that number and adjust theirs plus or minus a few grand, just so it doesn't look like they're copying me. So they're pretty much what I call copy the pros. They take numbers that the pros have already established, which again is not accurate because half the pros and agents in this market are not accurate, and they just pretty much just put it together. They just take that number and take it as fact. It's like the media in our world right now. Like what? Makes no sense. So they take that, they do that. Then if it's pending or it closes for a different amount, say I listed a house for 550, but it sold for 700. And so once it closes at 700 and I make that change and we report it, whatever, it closes with the county, they'll once again update their number on their estimate. How can you even trust a company that just copies everybody else? You can't. And that really leads me into something crazy that they did, and they launched, I think it was 2017 and 2018, and it's the program they called iBuying. Now, the purpose for this program was to buy homes at low value and resell them. They pretty much almost became their own brokerage, which in a way they would have been a monopoly because they are a lead generation company. They feed leads to a bunch of agents. That's a huge part of their business. For agents watching this, you know, it's called Premier Agent, which is, again, that's changing as well. I might do a separate video on that for agents, but for the sake of this video, we're staying on track to not talking about that. So they do that. They're a lead generation company for agents. And so if they had that plus they became a brokerage, they'd pretty much be feeding themselves leads. In essence, that's an unstoppable machine. They would own every single aspect of the real estate process. They would then hire agents, have them close. I mean, in a way, great for them, but in another way, that's very much a monopoly, which U.S. does not stand for, even though we have quite a bit of them. Anyways, politics aside, that program failed big. Why? Well, because this is what they said. They said their algorithms, I'm reading this, their algorithms weren't properly calibrated to the housing market. That's what they said.
To what extent was this a sort of I told you so moment to some people that said that in the first place?
We went into the business as a big swing on the bet that we could actually predict the price of a home 6 months into the future and do so with a very narrow margin of error and have our hold times be very short.
I would say Zillow has one of the most flawed business models I've seen in a very, very long time. They had a good business, which was their internet real estate platform. The growth in that has slowed dramatically so that now the growth is zero. And in that business, they're having real problems. They like to say that they're experimenting with new pricing, but really what they're doing is they're trying to change the pricing of their entire business. That's a problem. The part of the business I find the most problematic is what they call their, I believe, iHome business, internet buying business, where they actually go out and buy homes and flip them. I actually think the company doesn't understand the real risks of this business, which are massive. And one of the ways you can see that is last night on the conference call, the first words out of the CEO's mouth when he talked about this business was how big the TAM was.
They blame their algorithms, which they set up. I don't know. That's alarming. So their algorithms that they've created are at fault here. That's the reason this iBuying program failed. But in essence, I mean, the actual fact is in 2021, they lost over $528 million. They cut their force by 25%. They laid off 25% of their workforce. Of course, all those things in combination of sucking at your job and not knowing the actual value of a home just made that fail big. And they took a huge hit. And now Zillow is staying a little quiet. Why? Because they should. Because they jumped the gun and they thought they were going to get rich quick, which they already are, super rich. But they thought they were going to get even richer quicker. Glad that didn't work out for them. Because the middle class is pretty much not existent anymore. Now it's like us, peasants, the poor, and the rich. I'm joking. But the middle class having a hard time. Why? Because big tech companies like Zillow and many others are just getting more rich off being rich, and we're getting poorer off working 2 times harder. It makes no sense, right? That's why I like to talk about these companies, big companies like Zillow, Redfin, and whatnot. Redfin will be a whole separate video. Okay, they have their own programs they started. Anyways, let's talk about one more thing. I want to talk about human versus AI. Zillow will never take my job or any other agent's job. Why? Because most of their stuff is AI. It's artificial intelligence. Sure, they got hourly employees that take a call, transfer it to an agent, or take a call and try to convert them into a lead for someone. But for the most part, it's all technology and it's all AI. And no AI will ever get good enough to being human, to running detailed comps, detailed numbers, negotiating transactions. Robots can't do that. I don't care how advanced we get in this technology world, they will never measure up to being human. They may do something faster. They may do something more properly correct, but they will never be able to distinguish emotion, relationship, and all these other aspects that make real estate what it is today. So on that note, and on that hater note on Zillow, I just want you guys to know more about Zillow. Don't trust Zillow. Zestimates are not something you can trust. If you want to know how much your home is worth, just email me, message me. I will not make you work with me. If you just want to know the value of your house, I would love to do that. I get really close to the actual value, as close as we can, based off of other homes that have sold. And that changes month to month and week to week. And so if you're interested and you want to know how much your home is worth, let me know. Let someone else you're working with know. And if you are looking to buy a home, sell a home, that's where the professional services come in. So hope you learned something today. Hope you know more about Zillow than you did before watching this video. Until then, Zillow is spying on your house, like the Chinese spy balloon.